One of the things I did today was start working with a couple of 6-year-old horses that I'm going to break to ride. I started off working them in the corral. Want to be sure they can lead good, be sure I can lead them back and forth to the round corral without letting them get away from me. So here I'm trying to catch this blue horse. When I catch a horse, first thing I do is ask permission to touch them on their shoulder. The shoulder is the safest place of the horse. And even before that, I guess I'm asking permission to come close to their shoulder. And once I touch their shoulder, then I just try to sneak around until I can slip a rope around their neck. On a horse that's broke to lead, once you get a rope around their neck, you got them. And then you can try to sneak a halter onto them. So the first thing is to try to get that rope around their neck. So I'm just trying to get to know this horse. Once I get him caught, I'm going to lead him around a little bit, see if he knows how to give to that halter. I'm going to start off leading him in some circles. If he can lead to the left, lead to the right, lead forward and back up, then I feel like I've got a pretty good control of him. And there he's almost following really more than leading, but that's even better, I suppose. I need to know that he'll lead also. It's nice that he follows, but he also needs to be able to lead. When I'm leading him around in a circle like this, I'd ideally like him to step in front of his right rear foot with his left rear foot. And there he was a little bit stiff there for a while, so I just kept leading him until he figured it out. He moves a little stiff with that left rear leg. Not a problem. I just make a little mental note of that, and if it comes up later, then I might remember that I've noticed that. The horse doesn't really know how to back up too good. He knows how to go left, right, and forward, but doesn't really know how to go backwards. So we'll work on that some more later. Right now I'm checking him out to see how gentle he is. I'm going to want to be able to touch him with the rope, and then I'm going to try to pull him away from me with that rope. That will kind of goose a horse, and some horses will have trouble with that if they're not real well halter broke. You could see how when it got up underneath his hip, he got a little bit nervous, and but he still gave his chin to the rope, and that's the important thing. I need to know that he'll give that chin. If I get him out of the pen and something spooks him, I need to know that when I pull on him, that chin will come. So the first time I did that, he was a little bit nervous about that rope under his rear end, and so I just kept doing it until he got a little more relaxed. And when I was happy with the way he was acting on that side, I tried him on the other side. Big thing on these horses is I don't ever let them cross in front of me. It's okay for me to cross in front of the horse, but it's not okay for the horse to cross in front of me. Now I led this horse over to the round corral. Everything went smooth. Now I'm going to see if he knows how to lunge. If he doesn't, then I'm going to help him learn. I'm just trying to be sure I get behind him, show him where to go. This seems a little bit new for me. I seems to have done a little bit of it. But he, especially I think to the right, he's going to want to stop and try to come towards me rather than go around me. And so I'll just keep explaining it to him until he figures it out. If he tries to come towards me, I'm going to use my hand to show him that he's got to stay on his side of me. So a lot of times I'll raise my hand up to a horse's eye, and if I have to, I'll punch him in the side of the face. Gently would be my preference, but if I have to, I'll do whatever it takes to keep that horse from coming towards me. He needs to go by me. And once he's lunging good, then I just want to find out how gentle he is. He ought to let me touch him everywhere. If I find somewhere that's ticklish, then I'll work on that until I can tell that he's accepting that touch. And I work both sides of the horses almost as if they're two different horses, because the two sides of the brain on a horse do not communicate with each other near as well as the two sides of our brains do. So I try to remember that. I really have to teach him things on both sides. Once he's good at letting me touch him all over, then I'm going to touch him again with a plastic bag. That's going to be a little bit scarier for him, but it's important in the training process that I don't try to keep him from getting scared. What I'm trying to do is get him over being scared. And horses are naturally scared of everything. So I have to spend a lot of time teaching him what not to respond to. There you could see that horse wanted to back up a little bit and get me in front of him. As long as he's got me in front of him or behind him, then he has the advantage. He can hurt me if he chooses to. But as long as I'm beside him, then I am in a safe place. So it's a lot more vulnerability shown from the horse when he'll let me be beside him. And you can see this horse is having a little bit of trouble learning to lunge to the right. So I'll just keep working with him until he figures out how to go around there. All right, now here I'm touching him with my plastic bag. I've got this plastic bag tied onto a 4-foot whip, basically just to make my arm longer so I don't have to bend over and put my head in precarious places. So I always try to be sure a horse has a choice. So in this particular case, the horse has a choice of standing still or running around me. The theory is that it's easier to sit still than it is to run. So if I let him run around a little bit, he'll have a chance to figure that out. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to leave the same pressure on him when he's running around as when he's sitting still. So if he gets the same thing either way, then he should ultimately choose to sit still because it's easier than exercising. And once I get to where I can touch him all over with that plastic bag, then I'm going to try patting him with it a little bit. And I'm going to do little things that are going to scare him. I want this horse to get scared a whole bunch of times, but just a little bit at a time. I want him to get scared and get over it. I don't want him to think that once he gets scared, he has to panic and run off. I want him to learn that if he'll just chill out for a minute, then usually things will get better. All right, so I'm done sacking him out. Now I'm asking him to back up. I was not pleased with how he backed up earlier, so I'm asking him to back up. So I just ask him, and I jerk on that rope, cluck to him, do whatever it takes to get him to take a step back. When he takes that step back, then I quit pestering him. And so that's the way he learns that what it is I wanted him to do. Now he's pretty gentle, so I'm going to try to get him used to some pressure around his midsection while he's moving forward. And the reason for this is because I'm working him up towards getting him saddled, and that pressure around their midsection will scare a horse pretty good. And so again, I'm trying to introduce it to him in such a way that he can get a little bit scared and get over it, rather than completely panicking the first time he's saddled. So as he's going around here, I'll just put a little pressure on it, but I release that pressure right away, so that by the time the horse throws his little fit, actually the pressure's already gone away. So then he feels a little bit silly for kicking up when there's not anything there. And again, after a little while, once he finds out that what he's doing doesn't have anything to do with what happens to him, then he'll choose just to go along nice and easy. So I'd used my whip earlier to chase him around, but now I'm using the pressure from that rope to scare him, to make him want to go forward. And I'm going to do a lot of that sort of thing further on in the breaking process. I'm going to use little things that scare him a little bit to make him go forward. And that's the way he's going to learn to relax as we go. All right, now here's the second horse I'm going to start. He's about the same age as the other, I believe. This is a thoroughbred, and he's a stallion. Both of those things can make for a little bit more aggressive horse. The other was a quarter horse, gelding. So I'm going through the same process here. I'm trying to catch him. This is just a day for me to get to know the horse and the horse to get to know me. I want to be real sure that he doesn't get aggressive with me. So if he were to come into my space, I'm ready to hit him. As it turned out, this horse never showed any aggression at all, but I'm always cautious to be sure I don't get hurt. So here I'm just asking this horse's permission to let me come up and touch his shoulder. I'm trying to go up slow in such a way as to let him know that I want to pet him. You can walk up to a horse in such a way as to chase him to the other end of his pasture, but you can also walk up to a horse in such a way as to let him know that you want him to stand still and want to pet him. So I'm trying to walk up in such a way that the horse understands I'm asking permission to enter his personal space, as opposed to trying to use the bubble of my personal space to push him away. Okay, now he chose to not allow me permission, and here in a minute he's going to end up running into his little stall. I'm going to go in there and go through the same sort of thing, and in that smaller space I'm going to have some luck in getting to his shoulder and then getting the rope around his neck and then catching him. I'm going to bring him back out. He's got a nice big pen. I'm going to work him in this big pen rather than trying to lead him to the round corral. I got plenty of room here. I'm going to do the same things with him that I did with the blue horse. And you could see how that was pretty ticklish to him when I put that rope behind his rear end. But he got into that jam, and then he figured out how to get out of it. When he came around and gave his halter to gave his nose to the halter, then he got released from the pressure. And it's the same thing that he's going to have to do throughout this training process. I'm going to put him in a jam and let him figure out how to get out of the pressure. And you can see there he backed up and he tried to get me in front of him. I kept trying to step to my right to get over there beside him. And just going through the same process with this horse that I did with the other one. Now by the time I got done sacking this horse out, he acted to me like he wasn't really having fun anymore. So I decided to quit him there rather than introduce the pressure around his midsection like I did with the other one. I want to be sure and quit him before he quits me. So when I let a horse go, I always walk away from them. I never let them walk away from me first.